back, everyone, to another edition of the On the Wagon podcast, a sobriety podcast with a shot of comedy. Your host, Dan Smanbauer here. Diving in, I just turned 33 yesterday, so it's kind of my birthday week, so I wanted to dive into a few fun birthday stories as well as we close out the month of May. I am coming up on 7 months sober, so very exciting time heading into summer here in the Midwest and in Wisconsin. So I wanted to get on the podcast earlier in this week. Usually we put them out on Friday. I'm going to put this out on Thursday, and just, keep riding this high that we got, with our business going and with my sobriety. It's one step at a time, one day at a time, but it's been, things have been going well. I had a pretty light birthday yesterday, just did my work, which I've been, I have a home-based business here in Oshkosh. Just kind of relaxed too. I had my laptop out, but instead of being behind the desk, I moved it out into the living room a little bit more, and caught up on some TV, some live PD episodes, hit up some bar rescue episodes, watched The Last Dance, a few. Still behind on. I think I got one more episode left just because I didn't watch them live. But just kind of a more relaxing day, but still got some work accomplished, which was good. But not like the previous birthdays. The previous birthdays were going hard all the time. And I know I kind of said, I was trying to think about my 21st birthday a little bit. I think I kind of talked about that in the opening podcast. You wait all those years to be able to go to the bars and hit the bar scene and be social. And then the night that I went out, I think it was a Tuesday night. We went a little before midnight and, took the 3 Wiseman shots and felt horrible the next day. So it wasn't too much of a birthday for that, during the week. But then that weekend we hit it pretty hard. But I wanted to go back to 2 birthdays that really came to mind. Both very fun. Both, a lot of funny stories happened at them. I'm going to start with the first one, which was just recently. This was my 30th birthday party. I guess you could call it. It was actually a surprise party that Jen had put together. It was a Sunday night. Next day was Memorial Day. Me and Jen went out to dinner, a nice restaurant here in town, and then went over sick. She's like, "Oh, let's go and maybe have one." I wasn't really feeling it. At this time, I'm like, I'm 30 years old. I really didn't want to go out that night for some reason. I was trying to, kick this habit and kick this, drinking issue. But it is my 30th birthday, so we went out anyways, and come to find out my whole family was there and all my friends, so it was a great time, great night. I got to meet a really good friend who I'm now friends with now, AJ, who you hear on some of my podcasts I talk about, and I go on his podcast, do some side work with him, and trying to build up his businesses. So it's been pretty cool. It was an awesome friendship. But, it's just funny things happened that night. A lot of my good friends came out and had a lot of drinks, had a lot of shots. Nothing bad happened. But it was just a good time. One of my good friends, too, also ran from... they had that punching machine, which John Taffer absolutely hates. I just say that because I just saw that episode yesterday. But he always was trying to get the high score, and he ended up running from a business, which was Burger King, like their parking lot, all the way into the bar and punching it. So that was like hilarious. That was like a Twitter huge hit views on Twitter, that video. So that was like the biggest thing that probably came out of that night. But just good times. 30 years old you turn, and sometimes you start thinking like, oh man, wow, where did 30 years ago? I'm not where I want to be at 30. That crossed my mind a little bit, but not until just recently, looking at my life and some of the things that I still want to accomplish, going forward with business and relationships and things like that. I still wasn't there yet. My mindset still wasn't there yet at 30, but there was things starting to kick the tires a little bit on that. Like, okay, where are we going from here? Am I in the right job? I always knew I wanted to be a business owner. Maybe I need to figure that out. But I was just a little behind, on that. So, but it was a great time, great birthday. Shout out to Legends, still my favorite bar restaurant in town here. A great place to watch a game. So that's where we went for that. So I'm gonna dial it back a little bit. I don't know what birthday this was. I don't know if it was 24 or 25 or 26, somewhere in that area. One of our good friends had just had bought a place in Cedarburg, which is just north of Milwaukee if you're listening nationally. So me and a good friend of mine are like, hey, let's do something different this Memorial Day weekend. You know, we both were single at the time. Let's go down there and we'll meet. And he's having a bunch of people over, and then we'll go out in Cedarburg. You know, Cedarburg's smaller than Oshkosh. Excuse me. So we didn't really know what the nightlife scene was, but we didn't know maybe we'd end up in Milwaukee. Sorry, like a little coffee break here. I've been drinking the coffee in the morning. Anyways, we get down. You know, we get down there. It was a nice day. You know, it's probably about an hour south of Oshkosh. So we had a good time. You know, driving down, blasting some music. I probably had a road beer, knowing he was driving. I used to always do that, which is so stupid, like drinking on the way down. But you know, even if you got pulled over for a speeding ticket and had an open intoxicant, that's not great. But anyways, we get down there. He has like a little backyard. We start playing caps, start playing bags, and all of a sudden more people start showing up. Now it's like a full-fledged like party down here, right? So we get the grill going, get some food. Yeah, just a fun time, you know, like start drinking and I'll never forget. And the reason why I bring this story up is because I remember drinking this beer that I'll never drink. Well, you know, I don't think I ever drank after this time, even now, you know, before when I got sober. It was like an Alaskan amber dark beer. I just remember that. I'll never forget that. But anyway, so we keep playing. You know, now we're like partying pretty hard, and we end up going downtown. So go downtown to these few bars, you know, start talking to people we don't know. You know, then we're starting to move bars around. So some people are at one bar, some people are at another. One of my really good friends is just plastered, like just hammered, like, you know, he's been ripping shots all night, and he like just curls up on this like front ledge in front of the bar, inside the bar, and just fall like sleep. So that was like a big picture, like that was going on too. Like we were like, oh my gosh, he's taking a nap right in the front thing. Nobody said anything, right? I don't think we got in trouble anyways. But anyway, so probably about 1:30 or 2 bar close time, we start walking back or heading back towards the house. You know, it was a decent walk, but it wasn't like you needed a car. And I remember just walking by, and all the furniture, or like the patio furniture, was out for these like bars and restaurants for the next day, because next day was Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. You know, probably a big hot heavy traffic weekend for brunch, and we're just knocking these like chairs over and just being idiots. Like we didn't break anything, but just like, you know, putting the chairs on top of the tables. You know, just being obnoxious. So then we see this cop fly by the first time, right? So it turns out that one of the guys that was at this party with us, who we had known through, you know, a friend of a friend who was there, a good guy, drove his car from Milwaukee up to Cedarburg, and actually didn't meet us at the house right away, but he met us at the bar. So he had his car down there. So we're like, well, that's weird. So like, and then all of a sudden we're starting to think, oh man, we were just like rearranging these furniture on the sidewalks, and you know, did somebody call us in? You know, being drunk and disorderly, you know, and but the cop goes by us. And then I remember the second time, the lights go on again. We're almost home at this time, and we see another cop fly by. You know, he didn't stop for us. By that time, we were close enough to the house. Get to the house, everybody's still drinking, everybody's still partying, the grill's fired back up. So now we're making burgers at like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning or something like that. And the guy that was driving the car shows up and goes, wow, that was just so crazy what happened. We're like, oh, what's going on? He's like, I got pulled over just down over by the bars. I'm like, oh, that's funny. We just saw a couple cops. He's like, yeah, I was going to McDonald's to get some food, and I shouldn't have been driving, but I don't know. I ended up, you know, I don't know if I was speeding or got pulled over. So anyways, the whole story goes is 2 cops pull him over, probably the cops that we saw, or at least one of them, and another one was probably coming as backup. And you know, he was over the limit. He admitted to that. I mean, we knew that. And right as they were pulling him out of the car, asking him to step out of the car to do a breathalyzer, they get a more serious call, and let him go. And said, I don't know how that happened, and they let him take off and get out of there. And he was just like, this is just insane. Like, just I don't know how I got out of this. So he made it back, like, incredible, because he for sure would have gotten OWI that night. So then we partied till probably like 4 in the morning. Next day, I remember it was a beautiful day out, and I remember we were heading back to Oshkosh, but but before then, I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good at all. Like and I usually at that age, I never got sick the next day. Very, very, very rarely. Unlike these last 4 years or 5 years where I'd get sick almost every morning. I just got super sick, and I was like, yeah, I probably puked a couple times, and I remember seeing it was just that dark. It was that dark beer, that Alaskan beer. So I got rid of that a little bit. So on the way home, I felt a lot better. And then my buddy's like, "Hey, we should go." I think my dad's going up to the Division III World Series up in Appleton. You think you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I'll go up there. So we ended up going up there in the afternoon. I didn't feel the greatest, but went up there and we pounded some beers in the parking lot, and then I felt good again. But for some reason, we got home, and the big plan was to get all liquored up at the game and then go out to the bars at home. 'Cause Sunday night was like a huge, huge drinking night at the bars because nobody had to work for Memorial Day. And for some reason, I think we both kind of said, "Hey, we were feeling good. We're like, hey, I'm tired. I got my birthday the next day, so." I think we're just going to stay in. And I remember like people were calling me and texting me like, whoa, I thought you guys were coming out, because we were always the two guys that everybody would call that would ask where we were. We ended up not going out that night. So it was probably a good thing, because the next day I didn't feel as bad on my actual birthday, and it was actually fell right on Memorial Day. So that was just a couple funny stories. So many good times too. Like that I was trying to think like, oh, what birthdays specifically? Like there was just so many times. And I know I've said that 100 times on this podcast. Like, so many times I don't even remember, not just because of the blackout, just because there were so many of them. Like there was, so many funny times. So I'm trying to like go back to some of my friends and say, hey, you have some times that you remember we had a good time, and some funny stories that happened. I mean, there were so many times in Madison, so many times in Milwaukee, so many times around here. I think there's a few bachelor parties that we're gonna have to bring up that were just great times. But yeah, those are my two birthday stories. Nothing spectacular this week, but I just wanted to jump on the podcast and get a short one out for the listeners. Still working on a few things for sponsorships. Hopefully, we'll finalize that here coming in the next couple of weeks. There's also a podcast-a-thon I'm still waiting to hear back from. Hopefully, I get a chance, an opportunity to that, because I think that'd be huge for the podcast. But yeah, good things coming with this podcast. For This Is D-Span as well, for my more sports and comedy kind of side of podcasts and my interviews. We're still doing those. Those are still on my YouTube page. Try to get some more video interviews for that as this hopefully the pandemic starts to wrap up a little bit. I know I'll never completely be gone, but things are trying to get back to normal here. So. That is that for On the Wagon podcast, birthday week, 33 years old this week, really blessed and excited for the future, one day at a time here for my drinking, and hopefully we'll have some more stories next week. I know I got to do one of these ones. I got to do the hangover podcast, just some of my awful hangover experiences, which I think we'll all get a laugh at, because looking back now, they were horrible at the time, but they were, feeling wise, but pretty funny when you think about them now, and why you would put your body through that. But that's what you did when you're in college, and you kind of got on that track, and that's where you were at. So Hangover podcast is coming soon, but otherwise, everybody have a great rest of the week, and we will see you guys next week.